Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tiger Tank 12, however you call me, I don't really care, and welcome back to World of Tanks. This time around we're watching a replay of me and my EBR-75 FL10. And today's topic is going to be about the wheeled tanks and their current stance in the game. And as you know, this is going to be probably a quite interesting debate, because I think the light tanks, especially the wheeled ones at the moment, are massively overpowered still, or not very well balanced at all. This tank, recently, 3 or 4 months ago, Wargaming did release a patch that did at least, talk about the issues that we have at hand at the moment, and that were just some of the ridiculous stats that we have on the EBRs and the tier 9 and the tier 10. And they have acted accordingly, and they have actually nerfed the EBR 105 and the EBR 90, but still those nerfs were not strong enough in my opinion, because those vehicles still are a very big nuisance for anyone who has to face them and can only really be effectively engaged with another wheeled vehicle. Now obviously they're going to be introducing more wheeled vehicles in the near future. They have already announced that the British will get wheeled vehicles in the game, so we know that this will not stop and they will not take them out of the game. But they have completely changed the dynamic of this game. Definitely, they have changed the way we play this game. They've changed the meta, and to be fair, that is not something bad. Change can be good, but it needs to be within reason, right? So, if we take a look back, the EBR 105 and the EBR 90, the tier 9 and the tier 10, were both nerfed in certain regards as to gun handling and mobility. The tanks, with their mobility, I think that's still the main issue at hand. These vehicles can do things that no other tanks can do in this game, and it gets very blatantly obvious on a map like this, where you can somehow rally your team behind you, that they can actually be an effective sniping force, where you kind of spot the enemies and draw their fire, while they can't really hit you, or can only hit you if they really expose themselves, just like that P44 did in that instance. So these nerfs that they actually did implement into the game were like 5 kilometers top speed reduction, or a little bit more dispersion while on the move. But I think the main issue that I still have with some of these tanks is the ridiculous high explosive shell penetration. This tank still possesses 75 millimeters of high explosive pen, and you'll just see what we can do with that in this game. And it's not the only annoying feature that you have when you are going up against a EBR or a tank like this. What certainly needs to be changed, in my honest opinion, is the damage that can be dealt towards these vehicles, because at the moment they survive a lot more than they should, especially with the spaced armor part that these wheels kind of provide. People kind of just shoot you and you survive way more often than you actually should. Right here you could see we cleared out this kind of part without any real resistance by the enemy team, because our team obviously was doing very well there as well. They supported us very good. But the problem is, if they do not own, or they do not have an opposing EBR 75 at tier 8 countering me out in the field, or a light tank or somebody else, well, I can just free roam over here and do whatever I want to do. So basically we have won this game by just breaking through that front, and maybe they would have been able to do the same thing without any assistance from a light tank or a wheel tank, but it was a lot easier. And the problem is just that this tank doesn't really have any real negative points or any real downsides, because the mobility and the rate of fire and this auto aim system is just way too good, and having the ability to absorb certain rounds into your tracks just gives you this little bit of a kind of a invincibility status in your head, and allows you to do a lot more things that you actually should not be able to do. You're surviving a lot more than you should be surviving, and that is something that is just what always was so difficult while playing light tanks. That is the fact that you can be taken out of the game at any second, because your tank does not possess the armor or the ability to protect itself from incoming fire. And that is something that this tank or the wheel tanks actually have gained with the introduction of the wheels and adding them as spaced armor. And you can see right here, actually, we should have been dead previously already, but we still managed to go in there, deal a lot of damage, and we're almost at 4k combined damage with spotting and with dealt damage right there. And you know, the mobility itself is already great, but being able to really deal that much damage as well, running around, spot well enough as well, and just, you know, with the high explosive pen, being able to just annihilate anything that just turns its back towards us, which is really easy to get behind someone in this vehicle. And I'm not saying that it's super easy to play this tank. Light tanks, especially wheel tanks, are difficult to learn and to master. They're fun to play, but they're very difficult to master. And that's something that I've noticed, but still, they are not balanced at all, and they're completely fucking over some of the guys. And I think in this game you've seen very clearly how crazy we could just run around here, roam around, and deal all the damage and still kind of not get punished enough to get taken out of the game. And that was a decisive move over here, pushing the 1-2 line and going through to the back behind them and still helping out this T-26E5. Now the enemy team could have done better, obviously. They could have pushed me or done something to engage me, but with the mobility that I have, with the fire support in the back, they would have definitely needed to suicide me, and that is absolutely not worth it if you have to risk your tank to take me out, and there is no guarantee that you're going to be able to take me out of the game. Maybe I get lucky and you bounce off my tracks, off my wheels, and that's exactly the issue right here. They need to make this this kind of vehicle type, or basically all the wheel tanks, they need to make them a little bit more, they need to make them less random. And with that I mean that they need to reduce the amount of, you know, lucky no damage hits. I'm not saying that they have to take them out completely, obviously, but hitting these tanks on the full move is very difficult already. But they should take out the RNG a little bit, and they should definitely reduce the high explosive damage that this vehicle deals. Because with the current damage output, with the current way that the high explosive shell, the penetration works, this just completely ruins it. Because it is okay if a light tank is behind you and is able to shoot you with APCR, but having such crazy good high explosive shell values and being able to run away or run around the target while the target is constantly getting penetrated by high explosive shells that deal like 30 or 40% more damage than the APCR equivalents, that is a problem. And I know this is the premium version. This premium version was not buffed or nerfed or anything, but this goes out for all the wheel tanks. I'm very much looking forward to the British wheel tanks, but that is going to be a very interesting kind of comparison when they arrive, because obviously if they're gonna put them into the game like the French wheel tanks, we're gonna have a problem, because there are gonna be a lot more zoomies running around, and it's going to make the game a lot more even faster than it is right now. And I think that is the wrong direction to head down. I think that the wheeled tanks definitely have a place in the game, but they need to be checked again, because the current nerfs, the current parameters that you have on these vehicles, it's just not good enough. It's not ideal yet, and that's something that needs to be changed. So that was basically, I don't know, was that 15 minutes? Yeah, something 10 minutes, kind of a rant about the wheeled tanks in the game, and I would love to hear your guys' opinion on it. And as always, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.